Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to talk about 3D, augmented reality, virtual reality, and how you can build applications in 15 minutes or less. Really excited about this workshop today. Thank you so much for joining. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. We'll try to moderate them. And hopefully you'll learn a lot about 3D, AR, and VR. So I'm going to start by introducing myself. I'm Alon, founder of Echo 3D. We are a cloud platform for 3D applications. I did my master's in computer science at Columbia University, specializing in AR and VR. Did my undergrad in computer science electrical engineering, specializing in cloud. So I'm a certified nerd and a big believer in the world of 3D, AR, and VR, and metaverse. Now, before we start, I want to level set some of the terms that I'm going to throw out a lot, like virtual reality or VR and augmented reality or AR. These are terms that we're going to use a lot. So I just want to kind of level set here, define them together so we make sure that we're all on the same page. So virtual reality or VR is when everything around you is digital. You're fully immersed in a 3D environment, and everything you're seeing is basically a digital construct that is being projected into your eyes through some headset or some kind of device that occludes what you're seeing. You're controlling the world with your hands or with some pair of controllers. As opposed to augmented reality or AR, which we basically still see the real world, but that world is being overlaid with digital content. And we're looking at the world through some optical see-through, like glasses or some kind of headset, or a camera see-through, like a phone or a tablet. So this is basically kind of the differentiation. Now, a really cool way to understand these concepts is the amazing movie Space Jam, in which we have Michael Jordan being teleported into Looney Town. Everything around him is a cartoon. He's kind of fully immersed in a 3D environment, interacting with bugs and the other Looney Tunes. That's a really cool example of virtual reality, basically injecting yourself in this cartoonish world. As opposed to what we have later in the movie, and which is a good example of augmented reality, when we have Looney Tunes coming to us, playing basketball in the real world, interacting with Jordan and Bill Murray. So it's basically a differentiation between VR and AR. Either we are being teleported into Looney Town or Looney Town is coming to us. Now, this is obviously a comical example, but a really cool way to understand this is something that you all know and probably used at some point. For augmented reality, we have Pokemon Go. This is an amazing, very successful game in which people are running around, interacting with digital monsters that are not actually there through a camera see-through on your phone. Or for VR, we have something like Beat Saber. It's a really cool beat-style game that basically allows you to slash cubes based on the rhythm of the music in a fully kind of digital construct in a fully digital environment. These are some really cool real-world examples of AR and VR. Now, another example here that is really cool and really close to my heart, and the pun is definitely intended, is my thesis project back at Columbia University, where we took CT and MRI scans, converted them into 3D models, built this application on the Microsoft HoloLens for a physician to basically see the patient's heart floating above them during surgery. It was an amazing, amazing experience and a true use case of augmented reality in which the physician basically got to see this kind of 3D reference map of the patient's anatomy. Now, in order to achieve that, I had to do something that I really, really hate, and that's waking up super early in the morning. I had to be at the hospital at 6 a.m., take those 2D scans, convert them to 3D models, put them on these smart glasses, rebuild the application, and deploy it for the physician to see the patient's heart. Now, as a developer, I basically only wanted to do two things. I wanted to manage 3D assets and deliver them to an AR device. And when talking to other developers who are basically kind of trying to build applications for other use cases like e-commerce or training or data visualizations or games, they all said the same thing. There was no easy way to manage and deliver 3D data. But wait, if you think about it, this problem was solved for 2D, right? If you're building a website, you can use something like Heroku as your kind of cloud backend. If you're using Firebase, if you're building a mobile app, you can use Firebase or Parse as your kind of backend as a service for your app. So we kind of gradually transitioned from web to mobile to now 3D, AR, VR, immersive, metaverse, call it whatever. And the question has to be asked: who's going to build the same platform for this kind of new type of content? And you guessed it, that's Echo 3D. We are that cloud platform for 3D applications. Echo 3D provides tools and network infrastructure for companies and developers like yourself to build 3D applications, games, AR, VR apps, and any kind of metaverse app that you can think of, from NFTs to face filters. Very similar to if you're building a website and you store images and videos of some remote cloud. With Echo, you store 3D models, animations, and interactive content, and then stream that to headsets and mobile devices and game engines all over the world. And today we're going to see how you can leverage our platform to build applications really, really rapidly and with not a lot of technical skills. Now, before we move on, let's talk about some more concepts. So the same way that you don't need to be a web developer to update a blog post, you can just drag and drop an image or video. Suddenly that appears in web and mobile. And if I'm in New York and you're in California, and with both watching an episode on Netflix, we automatically get the best streaming experience. So we translated these concepts to 3D, basically allowing people to manage and deliver 3D data and get the best 3D streaming experience. And what's interesting here is this kind of bidirectional connection between content and location. If we were talking about images and videos on a website, you as a user can't move them or change the website. But you can definitely move a 3D couch across the room or an avatar across the game. So that location needs to be updated on the cloud. And that's what's so interesting about 3D content and how it's so location aware. So this is basically what we've built, this kind of content management system and delivery network that is kind of fully catered to 3D content, is really focused on animations and interactive content for you to build really cool metaverse experiences. Today, we're going to see how you can build applications really rapidly and do some technical demos and then dive into some coding. Make sure you register on our website, which is www.echo3d.co. You can start with a free account, free of charge, and also all of our paid plans start with a free trial. So don't worry, you can start completely for free. And now let's dive into how you can build an application. If you have any questions, feel free to jump in the chat and basically ask any question. So let's dive in. So this is our platform. So when you register, basically you should be able to get access to the platform that you're seeing on the right. On the left. On the right, you're seeing my phone. And when you register, you basically get this API key. This is your project key, basically your unique identifier for your content. You can have multiple keys that basically allow you to have different repositories of 3D content. And that project basically interacts with the different platforms that we support, like Android or iOS or Unity or Java or Swift, anything. Even Niantic, who introduced their Lightship SDK, we already have integration for that you can leverage. Basically build applications to the Niantic kind of Lightship SDK. Perfect. Now let's start with something simple. Let's upload some content to the cloud. So I'm going to click the Add to Cloud button right here. I'll open this dialog that allows me to add images, videos, 3D models, and also allows me to search for 3D assets through our kind of 3D collection of 3D assets that are available to download. Now, here we have the Empire State Building. I see in the chat that someone kind of asked about buildings in augmented reality, so let's kind of showcase that. So I'm going to upload this 3D model of the Empire State Building. Uploading to our cloud, what happens right now is that we take that 3D model, we convert it, we compress it, we make sure it works on any device, in any location in the world, and basically post it on our cloud. Now, once it's up on the cloud, you'll be able to see it right here in the console, so basically get this kind of 3D visualization of the building. And we can see that the original file format was OBJ, but our system already converted it to other file formats on the fly. GLB, USDZ, it just means that they will work on any platform out there. Like we mentioned, we have all these integrations. Our cloud under the hood just makes sure that it will work automatically and you don't have to worry about the file format. Okay, perfect. So we have it in the cloud. Now it's time to visualize it. So let's see how we can quickly see it in augmented reality. So I'm going to click this button right here. It will open a QR code that you can scan with your phone. So I'm going to do it the same with my phone. If you're watching this live, definitely scan the QR code with your phone. Just open the camera in front of the QR code. It redirects to a website. You don't have to install anything, and it will basically allow you to see the Empire State Building in augmented reality right now, wherever you are. So let's have the web page load. Perfect. We're seeing it right here. I can move it around a little bit, and then I can click see in AR. So let's see it in augmented reality. The camera opens up. Camera recognizes the floor, and bam, the Empire State Building is right here with me. I can scale it down with my fingers a little bit, place it on the floor. Super, super simple. How cool is that? I can walk around it, walk inside. Super, super simple. All I had to do is upload it to Echo and then scan the QR code. Really, really simple stuff. Fantastic. I hope you had a chance to scan it too. I'm going to leave the QR code right here for you to kind of scan it a little bit and play around with it. Super, super simple stuff. Now, another thing that I want to show you is basically what we saw here is this web, which means that we can stream the data from our cloud to a web browser. Another thing that we can do is to basically stream the data to a mobile app. So maybe let's do that. I'm going to open this mobile app right here. This is just a simple mobile app. I'm going to plug in the same API key that we have in our project. So let me do that. Data will stream from the cloud to the device. Let me open this app instead. There we go. Data will stream from the cloud to the app itself. There we go. Camera recognizes there's a floor here, and the Empire State Building will appear after I tap the screen. So let's see that. There you go. I'm going to scale it down with my fingers a little bit, and here we are. So now we have the Empire State Building right here through an app. How cool is that? So we saw two modes of operation. One is web, one is mobile. Super, super cool and super innovative. Basically allowing you to stream data and build an application like we promised, less than 15 minutes. Now let's see if we want to add some updates. We can also do that here. I can decide, well, let's say I want this model to, I don't know, I want it to animate a little bit. So I'm going to do something like direction equals right, basically just adding some metadata to it. And bam, it starts to rotate in real time. How cool is that? So a change in the console affects the apps automatically. Really, really cool stuff. Perfect. So we saw web, we saw mobile. Later, we're going to see how you can use Echo with the game engine. But what we saw so far was really using Echo with surface detection, basically meaning the camera recognizes the floor and overlays data on top of that. Another technology support is image recognition and face detection. So let's see how that works as well. So I'm going to click the same QR code button that I just clicked. I'm going to scan this QR code. And again, if you're watching this live, you can do this with me. So I recommend that you do. Open your camera, scan this QR code, redirects to a website. Once the camera loads, it opens up. Orient your camera towards the QR code, and bam, suddenly you can see the Empire State Building coming out of the screen using the QR code as basically a marker, basically a real-world target that allows the data to basically be overlaying on top of that, as opposed to the floor that we saw earlier. Really cool example, and again, you can kind of do this right now if you're watching. As I mentioned, another option that we support is face recognition. You can click on see on a face, scan this QR code, and again, you can do it live if you're watching this live. It will redirect to a website, no installation needed, and voila, you should be able to see the Empire State Building on your face. How cool is that? So super, super easy, really quick deployment of augmented reality and 3D content to your devices really, really easily. And you can upload any 3D model. You can also upload images and videos, and we're going to see that shortly. I'm going to leave it right here if anyone wants to scan it. Perfect. So let me add some more content to the cloud so you'll be able to kind of play around with it a little bit. Let's also upload a, say this fox, and let's place it in a specific location. For example, I want to see it in New York. This allows you to build almost like Pokemon Go style experiences, tag different assets in different locations, and basically allow you to have a single app that basically changes based on the user location. Which means that if I open the app in New York, I'm going to see the Empire State Building. But if I open it in San Francisco, I'm going to see the Golden Gate Bridge. It's really cool, innovative examples of how you can kind of leverage 3D content in different locations. Here it is. Let's also upload an image. Let's see how that works. So if I just upload some image to our cloud, it will process that image and will generate a 3D sticker. This is really useful for e-commerce if you want to kind of try before you buy some art on the wall, or you want to create like trading cards and NFTs that basically are shareable in augmented reality. You can do that with Echo. Just upload your 2D images like I just did, just this regular JPEG or PNG file, and you can see it in augmented reality. So for example, you can basically see this link right here and the QR code, which would basically allow me to scan it right here. So let's scan this as well together. And again, redirects to a website, no installation is needed, and you'll be able to see the sticker in 3D and see it in augmented reality as well. How cool is that? Really, really cool stuff. Really, again, useful for e-commerce and then other use cases. Fantastic. Another thing that I want to show you is custom image, basically a target. So for example, if I upload this building and I decide that I want to put it in a specific image, I can do that. I will basically choose image target and I will upload some image that will replace the QR code as the real world trigger. Let's see that uploading to our cloud right now. While that is uploading, let me also upload maybe a video to show you that video supported is also part of a platform. So let's upload that. Fantastic. So you can see that you can actually have many, many 3D assets in your project. When you're building your kind of virtual world or virtual application, you can really leverage Echo to store many 3D models, make sure they're optimized and they are converted and compressed automatically on our cloud, and you don't have to worry about all of that. You can share all of these assets with your team through kind of basically unique codes. If you're into NFTs, you can also mint those codes and basically have them shareable and minted. So let's see how this works. For example, now, if you want to do image recognition with a custom image, let's do that. Again, scanning this QR code. If you're watching this live, again, do it with me. Just put your phone in front of the QR code and scan it live. So now the camera opened, but it doesn't recognize the QR code. Why is that? Because we used a custom image. So if I open the custom image or like the marker, there you go. Suddenly the 3D model pops out on that image or the marker as opposed to the QR code. So really, really simple stuff. But again, it just means that you can kind of upload any image that you want and the content will overlay that as opposed to the QR code, which means this image could be a magazine. It could be your business card that if you scan it, basically your video of you talking kind of pops up, or if you're scanning a magazine and advertisement pops up. So really, really cool, innovative use cases that you can leverage for your project. Perfect. So we saw our platform so far. We saw you can upload images, videos, 3D models, how you can put them on the floor, you can put them on your face, how you can put them on different images. We saw all the integrations that we have. Let's explore some other stuff that our console allows you to do. So we can also swap themes, which is definitely cool, dark being the default. We have all these resources for you, like our documentation in our GitHub kind of page and our Slack page for asking different questions from our support team. And you can always email us or tweet us to basically ask for help. Definitely review our documentation. It's a step-by-step guide of everything we just did, and we'll be able to kind of guide you through exactly everything you just saw. And our GitHub also includes a lot of open source projects that you'll be able to leverage, and we'll dive into them a little bit later. Other things that you can do in the platform itself, you can kind of look at the data that is associated with each asset. You can have data that is associated with your entire game as opposed to individual assets. For example, we had a company that built a scavenger hunt in augmented reality. They had different information associated with different assets that you're looking for, but also had like data that is associated with the entire game, like user data, location data, and so on and so forth. You can also manage your subscription on Echo, so see how much bandwidth, storage, and API calls you're making. You can look at the locations that are supporting your application. Basically, all the servers around the world are basically streaming data to your devices. If you remember, we added that Arctic Fox right here. So you can kind of see the distribution of data. The Arctic Fox is in New York, and see the usage of basically different users around the world. You can monitor the security of your application, allow people to kind of gain access to it, or basically add collaborators to your project. You can get some insights around how your application is doing. For example, we streamed the Empire State Building, so we see a spike in usage right here. So really, really cool ways to understand how your content is doing is how your application is performing. As I mentioned, you can monitor users. You can also use advanced APIs to convert and compress assets. For example, if I want this asset converted by 35%, I can do that. Super simple with just a few clicks. And I can also generate a 2D thumbnail for each 3D model. Really cool and innovative stuff. Another cool thing that you can do with Echo is basically change assets in real time. So let's say Christmas is coming up or Valentine's Day, and you want to swap the color of the Empire State Building to be red instead of yellow. There you go. You just do that inside the console, and that will update in your game or in your application really, really quickly. You can also customize the WebXR experiences to add buttons, add actions, add your logo, and basically really kind of allow other users to interact with your brand in a very unique way. Other thing that we offer is, as I mentioned, open source examples that we're going to kind of review together right now. Let's review some of them for apps that you can build. There's also like a lot of kind of frequently asked questions that you can kind of go over. So here's a few examples of games and things around face detection. Like here the school makeup tutorial. Really, really cool, innovative stuff that you already have the entire code available right here. So I'm going to share that in a second. And another thing that I really love is our inspiration page. This is filled with amazing example of projects that people use Echo for. So for example, here we have this NFT trading card project that used Echo and did like really successful drops. Here's the scavenger hunt game that I mentioned, or an installation we did with an art agency in New York City for education, or here's a project with Verizon around streaming 3D content over 5G. They're really, really cool, really inspiring projects here that use game engines and web and mobile and face filters and really cool stuff around 3D, augmented reality, virtual reality that you should kind of go through just to get inspired. I would also recommend for all of you, if you have a cool project, join our Slack, tell the community about it, and we can kind of feature that project in the inspiration page. Perfect. So now let's review some of the project and then dive into how to use Echo with a game engine, which will be like a more technical thing, but it will not be very overwhelming even for some non-technical people listening in. We have a question about adding your own custom domain. Yes, you can definitely do that. You can connect your domain to Echo and then basically have all these links redirect to your domain. We also offer a way to white label the entire console, so the entire thing goes through your domain and website. So great question. So let's review some of the projects that we have here. Here, for example, here's a COVID visualizer, very timely. You can kind of basically populate the assets and populate information on COVID. Here's an example for like a face tracking application. Here's an example of a solar system educational app. So really, really cool stuff. I really recommend that you kind of review our GitHub page and look for all these kind of cool, innovative projects around 3D, AR, and VR. Here's one for remote work. Here's a guide of how to create digital wall art that you can kind of display and sell. Here's a board game that you can just leverage its entire kind of code that's completely open source. And now that we kind of know and see what we can build, let's dive into how to build applications, fully fledged applications with a game engine. So this is Unity. It's a game engine a lot of developers love to use. The way you integrate Echo into Unity is you open a kind of clean Unity project. You download our SDK right here, just with one click, or you can also find us on the asset store. You double click that SDK and then you add it to your Unity project. Another way to do it is basically take this full kind of open source example code and open that as a project. It already has Unity plus our SDK integrated inside. Once you have the SDK in your project, just open the sample scene. I'm going to click it right here. As you can see, it's an empty scene. There's nothing here. But what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to click the Echo 3D game object. And I'm going to add my project key. This basically connects my game engine to the cloud. And then when I press play, data will stream from the cloud to the game engine. It basically will fetch all the assets that we just uploaded, like the video, the 3D models, the images. All of them are playing and interacting, literally just kind of appearing out of thin air. How cool is that? So I'm going to delete the video because it's playing in my ear. And I'm also going to move the assets a little bit so they won't overlay each other. So we have the building that is rotating. Remember, we added that earlier, the rotation. So let's add that and let's move it a little bit. Let's move it 10 feet away. Let's move the fox 10 feet away as well. So what's cool about Echo, as you can see, is you can basically create your own digital city, your own digital metaverse, just by adding assets and streaming them into your game engine. And all of these changes happening in real time. If you want the building to stop rotating, we'll just delete that rotation metadata and bam, it stops automatically in real time. How cool is that? If we close the application from running, basically everything disappears. So nothing actually persists in memory. Your scene is completely empty up until the point that you run it, and then data is being fetched from the cloud to the game engine. And what's cool about Echo is that it also kind of recreates the scene. So the fox is 10 feet away, the building is 10 feet away. All of your changes persist. This is what we call a stateful CMS, basically a stateful content management system that remembers the state of your application, and you're able to basically recreate it just with one click. So all the changes that you're doing to your game persist and are updated on the cloud. Perfect. So now that we saw this, let's maybe I'll refocus some of the things here, and let's do some minor coding to kind of show how you can kind of add custom custom features or whatnot. So we have the fox right here. It's kind of pretty centered, perfect. Now let's say we want to change its name. Now it's called Arctic Fox. So what can we do? So I'm going to add some kind of lines of code, and we can kind of review them together. Each asset that has a connection to Echo, that is instantiated through Echo, has this custom behavior script. This is a script in C#. This is the kind of programming language that Unity uses. It's an object-oriented language, which means that if you know Java or any other object-oriented languages, you should be good. It's not that hard. And the cool thing that you have all these scripts are in Unity format. And the Unity has really interesting functions that kind of allow you to build applications. One is the start function, which evident by its name, basically runs when the application starts. And another function is the update function, which is a really interesting one. Think about it. You're coding in 3D now. So now you have this kind of almost like a scene, a 3D movie being rendered in front of you. So the update function happens every single frame. You're basically having this kind of animation being played, and every single frame you can say to the computer or to the application, run something or do some kind of action. What's interesting about this function is you have to remember that because it's running every single frame, if this function kind of hangs or gets stuck, your entire application will hang or get stuck. So you have to kind of remember your CS fundamentals around complexity to make sure that this function is kind of good and doesn't crash the application. But let's review a really kind of a really simple example. Here's a way for us to basically add something and query data based on the data that we have in the cloud. So we're asking, do I have any additional data? If so, do I have an additional data called a name? And if that's the case, change the name of the object to that name. Simple stuff. Let's see how that works in practice. So let's add a name here. For example, let's do name equals Kevin. We're going to name our fox Kevin. I'm going to press play. Data will stream from the cloud to the game engine now. And voila, now we have Kevin the fox. How cool is that? So really, really simple, but we were able to change the object of the name of the object. So this is definitely a simple example, but it's to show that you can use metadata to disable or enable features, control if flows, change things remotely. If we want to change the name of the fox now to Sam, it doesn't change, right? Because our code is in the start function. If we restart the application, it will run again. That snippet of code will run again, and we'll be able to see Sam the fox. Really, really cool, really, really simple stuff. But what happens if you wanted this to change in real time? So some of you probably already guessed, we can move that snippet of code from the start function to the update function, basically checking every single frame. Do I have any additional data? If so, do I have a name? And if we have a name, let's set that object's name to that name. So let's see what we have here. So it kind of recompiles the script right now. Let's give it a second. Then we're going to rerun the application with the new code that basically checks every single frame. Do I have a name? And if we do have a name, let's set it to the name of our fox. So there you go. We have Sam the fox. And then if we change something here, for example, Kevin, bam, now it's Kevin the fox. How cool is that? So this was a really, really quick example of how to use metadata, how to make changes in the application remotely, really with a simple kind of tools. We have a question here in the chat. Is there a way to add voices and animations to the assets that we create in augmented reality? 100% yes. So you can add, specifically in our customizer page, you can add audio files, and you can upload animated files. Maybe I'll show you how to do that. And basically in Unity, which is a fully fledged game engine, you're limited only by your imagination. You can add as many kind of animated 3D assets. You can add voice. You can add anything that you want. So super, super simple. Let me show you how an animated asset also looks like if you have like a model that you kind of animated in Blender or Maya. I'm going to upload like an animated model right here, and we'll be able to see it pretty much animated on the web. Another cool thing about this is that you can kind of take this link, embed that as an iframe into your website, and basically have an animation playing inside your website. So let's see it right here, for example. Here's the model I just uploaded, and it's kind of cool, has a cool animation that I can kind of cycle between all the animations and have it kind of play around. How cool is that? And you can also see this in augmented reality. Just open the same thing in your phone and it will start animating in real time. Great, great question, everyone. Perfect. Yeah, so video files, as we saw earlier, that's another great question. You can just upload literally MP4 files and they will appear in Unity as a game engine, and you can kind of build around them your application. Videos are not supported in WebXR though, images are. So kind of, in a sense, you have to kind of choose your poison, which platform you want to use, web or mobile or game engine, and just kind of build with basically based on the capabilities of each platform. Great question so far. So now let's build that kind of COVID visualizer that we just saw. Let's kind of build it together. I'm going to upload some content from my local storage. Probably be easier. So there we go. I'm going to upload a 3D model of our blue Earth, and I'm also going to add a CSV file, basically an Excel file that has all these kind of pairs of data. Instead of kind of manually inserting them, you can upload an Excel file alongside with your model, and it will parse that information along with the model. So super, super simple stuff. I'm also going to swap the custom behavior script under the hood. So we already have that. So let me just grab that custom behavior script. I'm just going to override it, and we can review that new script. So check it out. So basically now we have a new script. It's a bit more complex, but no worries. We're going to review it together right now. So in the beginning, we have this kind of array of continents. We have this dictionary that basically has a mapping of data for continents. We have a data structure, and we have the start function. Looks pretty much the same as earlier, but now the update function is much more interesting. Here in the update function, we're first asking, do I have any additional data? If I do I have information about the scale? If so, parse the scale into a number. And then iterate over all continents. If I have a hit on a continent, I'll basically parse the number that is associated with it as a number of cases. And then I'm going to ask, do I have a graph? If so, scale that graph to the number of cases. If I don't have a graph, let's create a graph, give it a color, give it a name, give it a position, scale it to the right proportion associated with the location of the position of the asset, add some annotation to it. And if we don't have information, just destroy the graph. Okay, simple kind of application that basically takes data and processes it. Now let's give the asset like a second to load. There we go. We could already see that it's kind of our beautiful Earth is here on Echo. Happy Earth Day, everyone. And we also see that all this metadata is already kind of locked into the asset, kind of because we uploaded that file with the asset. Now let's press play. Data will stream again from the cloud to the game engine, but now we have different scripts and different assets. Let's see how that works. Let's see, let's scroll up a little bit. There we go. How cool is that? So what we're seeing here is we're seeing our beautiful Earth spinning, and we're seeing all these kind of graphs that are associated with kind of all these different assets and kind of telling us about the information in each continent. If we change the data, for example, let's decide that Antarctica, except for one, has 8 cases, and we can kind of restart the application, you'll basically see the bar graph change automatically. Really, really cool and simple stuff. But again, allowing us to change data remotely. This means that you can basically create different applications. You can use this completely open source code to create really highly kind of data visualization apps, change things in real time, add data. You can also connect this example. So for example, I just deleted Antarctica, everything disappeared in real time. If we change Asia from 5 to 1 and Europe from 10 to 1 as well, everything kind of changes in real time. So again, simple example to show you how you can visualize things in real time. This also means that you can take this application, connect it to the, let's say, WHO, the World Health Organization API, and change these assets in real time through an external app, so an external API. Everything you're seeing on Echo is basically an API call away. And again, that our documentation kind of details that, but basically allows you to really engage with data really, really easily and query servers either through the console or through API calls through coding. So really, really innovative stuff. And again, see how cool it was and how easy it was for me to build an application really quickly just through a script and some assets. We have a few more questions here. Yes. So someone asked about like holograms. Yes, you can definitely use kind of any holograms. That's like how we kind of call AR 3D assets that are shown in augmented reality. If you have any questions, please add them to the chat. This is great. Thanks for the lively discussion. Again, where you see that when I close the application, all the data kind of disappeared. It's really, really cool stuff. Let's turn back to the slides. If there's no other questions, we can kind of continuously go through the slides a little bit and recap what we did so far. So what do we see? We saw how as a developer you can use any platform. We saw web, mobile, game engines. We saw how content creators can add content to Echo with no technical skills. So we didn't have to do anything technical. We just drag drop some assets, upload it through our search engine, or basically add them through files that we have in our computer. Echo basically built, store, and delivered those assets to web and mobile and game engine, all of these platforms, and you didn't have to do anything technical to make sure your data streams there in real time. We saw how you can change assets in real time, how you can change your application in real time through really, really cool metadata and kind of quick data sets. We saw how developers basically save a lot of time and money in building their applications, how content creators need no technical skills, and how companies can basically scale and send data all over the world just by uploading some content to Echo and then stream it to devices. At Echo, we believe that we can power any experience out there, and we saw different use cases from healthcare to shopping, e-commerce, advertising, training, games, really, really cool, innovative stuff. And we saw the inspiration page that is filled with amazing examples of 3D, AR, and VR, and metaverse apps that our community of developers has already built. And you can join that community really, really easily by registering to our service. A little bit more about us as a company. We're backed by some of the most amazing investors in the country, and we're there for any major tech event. If you're coming into some tech event, some conference, make sure to kind of look for our team, say hello, share with them what was the thing that you liked most about Echo, and how do you like building 3D, AR, and VR applications at scale. We love to say that we power applications across any platform. So start building. This is definitely the time to build really innovative applications. And today in the workshop, we saw how easy it is. Literally just drag and drop, and you're able to start and deploy content to any device out there. Make sure you register on our website, www.echo3d.co. Really, really excited for you all to join. If you have any questions, feel free to kind of ask them in the chat and kind of get the opportunity to play around with our system. We have a question right here about setting up colliders in physics. Yes, definitely. So your application on Unity or any other game engine is a fully fledged application. You're limited only by your imagination. You can do anything. You can add colliders through scripts. You can add physics through scripts. You can add physics into your application and just kind of get the assets from Echo. Again, limited only by your imagination. You can do anything you can do with any other object in Unity. Just here, you get the added benefit of having the assets live in the cloud as opposed to your build, which means that when you build your application, it's going to be super, super small. The assets are not actually there. When you publish your app to the asset store, to the app store, it will be small, and basically a lot of users will be happy to download it because it's not that big. It doesn't require a lot of memory. And then when you actually play it, data will stream from the cloud. So great question there. Thank you so much for joining our workshop. If you have any other questions, feel free to write them in the chat. If not, join our Slack. Join our community, ask questions there. Our team will be there to answer questions later. You can always re-watch this workshop as well. We're going to put it live on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining. Start building. This is definitely the time to build 3D, AR, and VR and metaverse applications. Really excited for kind of to be there for your start of your journey when you're starting to build applications. Definitely register for your account. And thanks again for joining us. Stay safe, healthy, and sane, and start building applications. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good one.